Right. Sit thee down, beautiful listeners, and welcome to Men in Sheds, episode 4. Four. Never have so many words been said with such little meaning.
To so few.
We're going to jump right in. I were driving around, this time not walking, driving around. And
were you driving past the Fiat dealership?
No, not this time. Actually, it were a different dealership. And I saw, pulling out of the side road, I saw a Citroën BX. And you don't see many of them about, do you?
Your dad had one of them, didn't he?
He did. He had a Citroën BX Meteor edition.
Meteor? Oh.
Yeah.
Does that mean it were grey?
It meant it impacted into the ground in flames. It almost actually did, because he had a head-on collision in there.
Wow.
Yeah, someone hit him.
Did it come off all right? Being a Citroën?
It were written off. And it were actually my first car I drove.
Yeah.
I learned to
wow,
drive in that car.
Because it's got weird brakes and everything, aren't they? All in the system?
Well, I don't know, because no one really understands, do they? But it's hydroscopic.
That's the one.
Hydroscopic suspension, and it is linked into the brakes, so it doesn't nosedive.
Yeah.
It doesn't roll on corners.
And the brake pedal's quite aggressive, isn't it?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? It was so long ago.
I don't remember. All I know, it were a 1.9 non-turbo, and we pulled a caravan with it, and it whoa.
That's a venerable engine, that 1.9 diesel is, I think.
It were wheezing. It was
PSA engine, isn't it? So we're in Peugeots and all.
It were
309.
It were the diesel engine
that
everyone kind of got on board with and led us into the diesel era. But
306 turbo diesel came from it, I think.
It
were, which are venerable in itself in certain circles.
In certain circles.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
Well, the BX, seeing this cream BX, it really struck me of how radical the car they were. And it kind of made me think, like, are Citroëns too weird for their own good?
For their own good.
Because you like a Citroën, and most people haven't really got that many bad words to say. Like, they'll say, like, I don't like Saxos, I don't like the C2, or whatever. But everyone tends to have one that they like. And, like, as you know, I kind of, like, applaud the Cactus.
Yeah.
Because in the right colour combination, I think that can actually be quite a striking vehicle. But I wouldn't buy one, and I would expect 12 months later to be kind of thinking, oh, well, that fad, like a pair of Crocs. And I'll also point this out to get your mind
go on.
thinking.
Go on.
Citroën made the most beautiful, most epic classic car ever, didn't they?
DS.
The DS, the Diane or whatever.
Yeah,
was it Diane?
The DS and then Diane.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know. But
I should have said 2CV then, shouldn't I? Just to throw you off the scent.
You should have. But, like, they didn't just continue doing that. And if they had, then they probably would have done really well.
Yeah.
It would have been there.
Just refine that beauty a little bit and you're off.
Yeah, just keep doing that.
Keep making that.
Keep doing that. It's dead good. Like in Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
That's like one of the future cars.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't use a modern system.
No, they just, we'll just use the same one with other conversion on it. Like.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
And I know that you were the fan of the big one. Was it C5?
C6, wasn't it? With concave rear glass, and that had got magic suspension and everything as well. And that's I like. You see, I think the Cactus thing. It's a good point you bringing that up, really, because I think that's a great example of the issue that Citroën have got, really, not issue maybe, but it's a funny one, isn't it? Because like you say, Cactus. It's a bit weird, but like, and people are like, I quite like that. It's a bit quirky, But I think I've seen so few in generally or genuinely radical colourings. Most of them are black with black bumpers.
Yeah.
Or grey with black bumpers.
Yeah.
Or if you're really crazy, white with black bumpers. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, it's proper crazy and people like it. But they kind of daren't. And I think the Cactus is almost there because you can get it in normal colours and it kind of hides the fact it's got these crazy egg box bumpers on side. And it's, you can't see them when it's black, so it's all right. When really you would think you'd want to embrace it. But it's almost like you say, it's so crazy that most people just can't embrace it. They just have to hide the craziness as much as you can.
Yeah, it's like Citroën say, you know, here are our new radical high-top sneakers with fluorescent colouring and light-up bits, and people go, oh, crikey, that's a bit exciting, that's a bit new, that's a bit cutting edge, I'm going to be dead fashionable and have a pair of them in black with black trim.
With the decal delete and light delete as well.
And but I like them. I do like them. And the thing about Citroën to me is like, they're cars. They're kind of catwalk cars, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Peugeot's very much like that. But Citroën, they go a bit sort of beyond that.
Yeah.
They go a bit kind of like, oh, that's, you know, she's got a cabbage on her head now. What's that about? I don't want to wear that.
I think they like you said, I think the enthusiasm for Citroëns is a bit like the enthusiasm for concept cars.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people out there that are probably, actually, when it came down to it, would drive one of them concept cars, but they go nuts for it all the same. And like you say, maybe that's Citroën's problem, is they have productionised the concept car a little bit too well. And they're sort of like, people are like, oh, I love them, but I won't buy one. Yeah.
Well, that's people, innit? And I think in a way, you know, like you can go out and you can complain that cars never really are in the same vein. Like let's take the PT Cruiser, for example, like the concept. I remember going to an auto show,
amazing,
and I was there for the concept. I'm like, that was amazing. And then they released this kind of taxi-like vehicle at the end of it, and everyone gets all het up and angry. But it can potentially age a car so badly if you are in any way interesting or radical. And an example, the Mercedes CLS.
Yeah.
That was a concept car, wasn't it? That were like SoCal style, sort of
lovely
like
that way.
lowrider kind of inspired, and people went, "You should make that." And Mercedes said, "Okay," and they stuck with it. Like, they stuck with it for years, and that's the difference. Like, you've got to do that because you do it for about 3 years, and then you go, well, you've had your boots, so like, fair enough, move on. That ages it really
that's
badly.
You gotta double down on it a bit and just keep going, haven't you?
You have. So I like, on one side, I kind of like applaud Citroën for what they do, because their cars are definitely funky. Definitely funky. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe you should rein it in a little bit and just stick with one thing instead of just going like, we're doing this now, then we're going all over the place with it, like.
And also, like, you could tie into that, like you say, you know, they made one of the most beautiful vehicles ever in the DS, and then they've released the sub-brand of Citroën DS, none of which are beautiful cars.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, you messed it up a bit there.
Exactly.
I mean, you should have been like, here is beauty for 21st century. Remember old DS, here's new DS.
Exactly.
And really, they just sort of went, well, we'll use the DS on this Citroën we've got, and actually, we'll just call that like a new brand that means a bit of luxury. But it's like, you know, you're not with your roots. You're neither here nor there. You know what I mean?
Where's the lineage?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, you get this with some car companies. You know, Jeep's not particularly good. They're all over the shop, aren't they? Especially now Fiat's got involved. And you know, the Japanese companies, there's very little lineage going on with them. Whereas you look at Americans right now, or you look at the Germans, and they are like, every single time it's like this evolution. And people come along and they go, well, I want the latest version of what I've already got. And in a way, I kind of admire it. While also kind of hating it at the same time.
Well, it's not going to, like you say, by its nature, it's not going to produce anything massively radical, is it? So that's why you sort of can be a bit, evolution is not revolution, is it? But
no, I mean, you know, I think it was Chrysler, wasn't it? The Prowler, the Plymouth Prowler.
Oh, yeah.
And that's radical even by today's
crazy
standards,
that way,
but, you know, are kind of mocked now. Whereas just playing it safe and just sort of
keep under radar.
Mustang that looks like old Mustang, and Challenger that looks like old Challenger, and
don't stick your head above the parapet. You know?
Just don't play it safe. And you know, I don't know which one I encourage or I like, or if it's good that we have a bit of both going on.
And like I say, sometimes I would say maybe Citroën doesn't know what it's doing, which way around, you know, like I say, it can be right crazy in a bit and then like I say, I think it is funny that really, you know, you've got the DS range is not actually, even though it's named after that futuristic, amazing, it's not, it's luxury. They've gone for luxury element, but they've not really gone for radical element. And then just plain old Citroëns brought out the Cactus. Really, maybe you should have said Cactus should have been the DS.
Well,
or if that's
or
what
at
you're
least,
gonna.
I mean, it raises a question in my mind, and that is whether or not they're actually that innovative.
Yeah.
With manufacturers doing so much now, there were a time when Citroën were doing all kinds of really innovative things. I mean, the original DS had its lights that turned.
Yeah, and then there was GS that came after that, and that were like the 70s almost incarnation of the DS. It's still got funky lights and all sort of I think it got Cyclops kind of light going on, and all sorts of. And then you got like I say, lineage into BX and ZX and Xantia and all that. But like I say, that magic suspension sort of disappeared, and maybe the unique characteristics have sort of gone with it. And
I mean, it were good to have. Like when I reflect back. Because we used to, like I say, tow a caravan. Yeah. And the BX were brill because you just lower it down back up and then raise the suspension. Yeah. I remember going through like floods. Yeah. And it was dead good.
That's
cool.
Raise it
up
like
suspension, and it was meant to make changing a wheel.
Yeah,
simpler. There's a whole other practice for doing that I don't think any Citroën owner actually knows how to do. And it was fun to live with, but like now, like what Range Rover has suspension.
Now you've gone to air suspension kind of. It does the same, doesn't it?
Lift now, they do it.
Yeah.
And it really begs a question, like, if no other manufacturer's really adopting it and using it, maybe it isn't that good. Yeah. Overall. Maybe
what, like, in your original question, maybe the answer is like it's too crazy, but maybe in wrong ways. Like you say, there's not. You're just like, look at me, I'm a bit wacky. Yeah. Rather than saying like,
that's right, what it is.
We're crazy, but in a clever way. Yeah. And like I say, we're going to do this long term, and we're going to get you in the end. And you'll be like, that's clever, that.
Exactly.
But when you're just like, look at me, look at me, look at me.
I mean, like the DS is such a classy looking car, such an elegant looking car.
Yeah.
And the Cactus. Yeah. Is kind of like wearing Crocs, innit? It's like, I got my Crocs on, I'm dead interested, I am. Yeah. Oh, I've got a really fascinating personality, which it's so exuberant. I have to wear completely radical footwear.
You're crazy.
And that's kind of like, the Cactus is a bit like that. Yeah. And it's kind of...
Yeah, it's an about face, isn't it? In the sense that, like you say, the DS were beautiful looking, and then under the surface you realise how clever it was. Yeah. But like you say, if you were just interested in the aesthetics, you'd just say, that's bloody lovely. Yeah. Whereas like you say, the Cactus is almost like the other way around. It's like, look how clever I am, look how crazy I am, it's right on the surface. But then you look underneath it and it's like, well, actually you might just be, a 4-door hatch with crazy stuff stuck on the outside. I don't know how deep it goes. Whereas like you say, maybe Citroën's heritage should be more deeply crazy. I mean, I think GS had like weird speedo and all sorts, didn't it? Odometer, they were all like dials rather than...
It had, it went across. Across laterally for your speed, I think, and it had a very fancy gearbox.
Yeah, and all that sort of,
stuff like that.
Single spoke steering wheel, wasn't it?
All sorts going on. It were dead innovative.
It was, like you say, it was deeply ingrained in what Citroën were maybe, and now it's just sort of like, no, we're still crazy, honest.
Yeah, well, dead wacky.
They were dead wacky. I imagine green.
Like Citroën in their sort of R&D department. Yeah, they've all got their mugs that say you don't have to be crazy
to work here, but it helps.
Yeah, but in French,
obviously, yeah,
and in kind of very odd shaped mugs.
Yeah.
They're really like quirky to drink out of. I don't know.
Drink out the top bit rather than yeah.
But that's what I saw. Yeah. That's what I reflected. They've done a lot of quite mediocre cars. Yeah. Really, the Saxo were nothing special as a car, but it were pretty. Yeah. It were a pretty car, but I was just like that C6, and that's all that sticks in my mind. Yeah. I had a work colleague who bought, I think it was a C5. He bought a high spec one of them. Yeah. And
C5 were a bit of a kind of just amorphous blob of a vehicle, wasn't it?
It was an absolute blob. Like, my memory of it is so mediocre.
Yeah.
All I remember was he couldn't get in the fuel cap when we first went out to a meeting in it.
Wow, that's memorable, that is.
Yeah, that's all I remember about it. It had all the toys, but they were all the French toys, and and let's face it, I mean, crikey.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's best the French aren't being innovative, because the amount of times, like, I know people who buy a French car and they go, "Oh, I know what you're gonna say. Don't buy French," and then he absolutely lives up to
all the stereotypes.
I know a lad, and he bought it were the Clio.
Yeah.
It had the bum on it.
Yeah.
Was it Megane?
No, Megane.
Megane had the bum on it.
Uh-huh.
See, they're not looking very cool now.
That's true. They're a bit frumpy now.
Maybe got back, and he couldn't open like one door from outside. He couldn't open it like most of his doors from inside.
Yeah.
Couldn't put the windows down. And that was just half his problems with this car, because it was all keyless entry and everything else. And I remember saying to him, like, you're going to have to buy a window hammer.
Yeah.
Because this car's now become bloody dangerous, quite frankly. I mean, it'll probably still sell through its MOT, but...
but as a going concern, it's a bit scary.
It's like you should be able to get in and out of your car. That's like a basic sort
of... Like, again, like you say with French, it were like, when they were doing outrageously beautiful cars or outrageously innovative cars, if electronics went on the fritz a bit, you were just like, well... Space age though, isn't it? Space age. Mm. But like you say, the more sort of normal they get, then unfortunately it's like, well, that there Citroën C whatever, it's very much like this Ford or this VW or this Skoda, and they all don't set fire to themselves 3 days a week, and so really, it's tricky when your USP is to be, bat crazy.
Yeah.
But maybe that's, and I think maybe in a way they have tried to get back to that a little bit, but like I say, in the wrong way, in this sort of very overt sort of just stick it on the outside, the car is crazy, and it needs to be deeper than that.
If they can't build a reliable car, then just stick on your stuff. Stick on your stuff. And you know what? Some manufacturers are following suit, and Fiat's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
They'll get a little bit quirky, and Renault a little bit quirky too. But what I'd like to see Citroën do is go back to its roots, and try and refine some of this technology.
Yeah.
That some of it's probably their IP at the moment.
Yeah, bringing it back.
Unique to them.
Yeah.
And make it reliable, or at least support it well.
Yeah.
Through the dealership maintenance.
Yeah.
And just do a good, and then just stick with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's true. I mean, the buy-in and the ownership of vehicles has changed so much now that if your magic suspension needs work quite often, well, just sort of subsidise that in your normal service. People are dropping in once a year for your service, whereas maybe in the past people, would not see a dealer for 3 years and then complain when one of the spheres or whatever just completely gives out and you're driving along the road leaning over to one side or whatever. But like I say, if you can just amortise that into cost of servicing, you can get away with it and just be like, this is the tech. It'll send your baby to sleep, and all this magic stuff, and been refining this for 60 years or whatever. And I think you're right. That could set them on the way.
Well, that's my advice. Our advice, I think, to Citroën.
Have you got Citroën's number that we can just
well, they'll be listening.
They're one of those silent listeners, aren't they? One of those magical.
Well, that doesn't use software, doesn't get tracked.
Exactly.
There's a hit or anything, or a subscriber, or
well, they don't want to admit that this is where they got the idea from, do they?
Well, and probably their technology doesn't work properly.
That's true.
To send that information to come through. Well, we'll wrap up there.
I'll have a brew and get back into it.
Okay, then. Hello again.
Brew over.
Right, so before you're going to talk a little bit about something that's going on with you.
Yes, I'm going to be. I'm going to be made to talk about it forcibly.
No, right, yeah. Well, I just want to follow up on previous episodes.
Yeah.
So I insinuated
Yeah.
that Capris are very for rapists.
Oh, you're not going to make a formal apology.
I'm not going to do anything of the kind. I would never do that. Stand by my word. But I saw the Capri that originally made me think that.
Yeah.
And there were a guy looking at it. He were having a good old gander at it. And
Did he look a bit rapey as well?
Not before he approached the vehicle. And as I walked away, I looked back and I'm like, he's getting more rapey by the second.
The closer he gets, the more he leans in.
I was like, cracky, you know, I haven't got my mace on me or anything.
It's an aura around this vehicle.
I had me comeuppance because on my way back.
Oh no, you had to get a lift in a Capri.
I saw him again, looking at a house to rent that was a few doors down from mine.
Oh dear.
So I was like, I may end up with either.
Oh yeah.
Living a few doors down from a man who is a rapist because he's got a Capri, and maybe this is worse, knows that I think he's a rapist.
Let's hope he doesn't listen to this.
Quite an uncomfortable moment as we're putting out our recycling. But so that had a little bit of follow up, so I got me come up. That's a bit. I stand by it.
Yeah, that's a bit like that.
Stand by it.
Father Ted thing, you know. There's I hear you're a racist now, Father. But like you'll wheel your bin out. Oh, I see you're a rapist now, mate.
Well. You've got news, haven't you?
I have got news,
and it's been quite shocking to me because I've been getting these like weird messages. And we had a conversation last podcast, didn't we? And you were saying like, I need a large, spacey vehicle that's reliable.
Can we gloss over that
and
fact?
Cheap to run and everything else.
I think 2 out of 3 on that one.
We concluded after quite a chat about Subaru Impreza wagons, and stuff like that. And we concluded that the ideal vehicle would be a Forester.
I don't remember that.
And you've come back now with news that you put a deposit down on, and what's it called?
Well, yes, it's slightly different to maybe what we talked. So I have put things that move fast.
It's like a Forester.
It's very much like a Forester. It's got 4 wheels. It's got a boot. So I've put money down. It just appeared, and it were meant to be. So I put a deposit down on a Suzuki Wagon R RR. All the R's.
After we mock the Porsche.
I know. For having an R, and I've got an R.
You just got all the R's.
I've got all the R's. Porsche, can I have that R back, please?
Is it seriously called a Wagon R?
It's called a Wagon R RR.
Wagon R.
Because I think the Wagon R, the R in Wagon R, is something like for recreation, I think, or something.
Well, it don't look like it on the logo.
But I don't know what they are. Race ready. That's what I'm going to say. Race ready.
Recreational. Race ready.
So, for those of you not in the know, and come on, you should know. To actually give it its full title, is Suzuki Wagon R RR version V, or version 5. I'm not sure. You know,
version V. Oh, you never know.
Version V for victory.
Never know. Could
it's
be
race ready version victory. It's a car.
Of course it is. Although it has elements of Escalade in its appearance. I'm quite shocked by that.
Front grille is
from a distance.
I think we might call it the Kaiscalade. I don't know.
The Kaiscalade. I think that you're going to be driving down a narrow street and you'll have cars moving over. Because they don't realise you're smaller.
No, that's it. Smaller, far away.
You're Father Ted again, just further away.
Nice, I like it. So it's basically. I mean, we had a Wagon R in this country. It were quite a utilitarian vehicle. You know, it was just like a box on wheels, really. Whereas this is a box on wheels with spoilers, skirts, and side skirts, and an Escalade front grille.
That's all like my old wagon.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the wagon. So, I mean, what can I say about it?
Well, I know nothing about it. The only thing I know, and you're very excited.
I am.
Perhaps oddly, by column shift automatic.
I just think it's hilarious in a car the size. Well, it's same size at Jimny, same size at my Cappuccino. It's this tiny little box on wheels with like good old fashioned American land yacht column shift.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a confusing thing, isn't it? Because I love the idea of column shift. I've never had column shift.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of just slamming it into park and the whole car rocking like it does in
or slamming it into driving and it's not going to really do that.
I'm finding it hard to picture that on what looks like a clown car version of an Escalade.
Exactly. With, I might add, a HKS blow-off valve for when you let off.
Let off. I am a little bit excited.
I'm quite excited about that. I think that could be a bit ridiculous. So yeah, well, it were going to go on.
Is it same engine?
Yeah, this is what's kind
so
of.
You got another one of them.
Yeah,
60cc turbo.
This is what's really nerdy about it now, because I've basically got the same engine. For you engine nerds out there, it's a K6A. I've got an F6A in the Cappuccino, which is basically like the cam belt version of the K6A. So I've got one of them in an FR platform, and then I've got a K6A in a front four-wheel drive platform, and now I've got a K6A in a front-wheel drive platform.
So it's front-wheel drive?
It's front-wheel drive.
Not four-wheel.
Not four-wheel drive, because what I would have loved above anything else were a Suzuki Alto Works, the proper one with four-wheel driving. But the rarest entities, I did see one. I did sort of message somebody and say, look, if you're ever thinking of selling it.
It's your Ellen or?
It is. That's it. It's a regret. I saw it a long time ago and it were up for sale, not far from here. I were too obsessed with Suzuki Carries at the time and importing one of them, which never happened in the end. And it went and now I regretted it really. And I thought I should message this guy just in case, Never heard back from him. Very rude. Very rude.
How
rude? I mean, us car people, we're
stick together,
a genial bunch. And I thought that were a bit rude, so I gave up on that one. And then, as any normal person does, he has a few safe searches on eBay, and he
can we call that the Altanor?
Altanor.
Yeah,
I like
Altanor.
That. The Escalade and the Altanor.
Yeah, because it's the one that got away.
It definitely one that got away.
That's going to bug you, isn't it? That's going to bug you.
So I had to erase that from my mind, and then I'd sort of thought, we'll go for a Forester, and there were issues with Forester. I mean, we looked at it, and really, I didn't want to spend too much money because, it was a car to buy in order to do things to Jimny. So you can't spend all your money on the second car, otherwise you've got no money to spend on Jimny. So
can you buy them though if you're not a lesbian?
I think so, only just, but I think so.
I'm not sure with the old lesbaroos. I think.
Did you know about that? That were proper, like that were what's the word? Embraced by Subaru. They realised.
Well, good on them.
Yeah, they realised that they did some market research. They weren't out for attracting, we must go for lesbian market, but they looked into it and they found that it were a sort of lesbian couples who like to do outdoorsy things, and they did a whole. You can look at it up on the internet, and they did a whole ad campaign where they had these really subtle captions or little subtle number plates and this kind of thing that all sort of keyed into sort of lesbian culture, and it were very clever, and they really got a lot of praise for it for demeaning it, for not sort of just doing it for money. We're like, no, we'll champion this. And
that's brilliant. Yeah. That is champion.
It is champion.
Re-champion. Good on him.
So yeah, I did have that problem with having a Forester. I am not a lesbian. But the other problem was looking at it in budget. I were looking at, you were looking at quite. I mean, I were all right with it, but they were quite leggy. They were, a lot of miles. Usually the, naturally aspirated 2 litre. They were not amazing. And then just one day, with all these safe searches and stalking certain forums and that sort of thing, this Wagon R popped up, and I opened it up and said, I'm sorry, no, that's an Escalade. Oh, no, it's not, hang on.
Oh, it's just a very small picture
of an Escalade. Just a small picture of an Escalade. Yeah. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought, well, it was similar money to what we're looking at for a Forester. It's like, well, it's only done 48,000 miles. It's only been in the country about 2.5 years, so hopefully rust, no problems. And it's a Kai car, and I do love me a Kai car.
It's been interesting, because as we were saying before, I didn't get down here fast enough with my tranquilizer darts.
No, you couldn't stage the intervention. Things have moved pretty fast. I have to say,
but because it's in Edinburgh and you've not actually seen it.
But that's the slight issue. Yeah,
all it's all there. Like,
yeah,
because my whole thing with buying second-hand cars is you kind of the best place to be is the clubs, the scene, the clique. Because they look after them, they pass them around, and quite frankly, they value them realistically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the odd thing about that. That,
that's true. It's not inflated or ridiculous.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's just quite often the cheapest place you can look for these kind of cars.
Yeah.
And you've done your homework, haven't you?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it was good because it started with not the current owner, but the previous owner actually posting up on the car forum and saying, "Me old car's up for sale. It were £8,000. You should check it out." Well, obviously, he's got no bias really straight off because he's not selling it. So you think, oh well, that's a good first step if someone's, because you'd think if it were a nail, the guy wouldn't go, "Oh, buy me car, it's ace."
I like your naivety.
I know it's very naive, but
because I'm just like, well, maybe it's a ruse, maybe it's multiple accounts. Like I'm taking notes because I'm thinking, let's say you sell a car, this is into it.
If it all goes, if it all goes pear shit, then
Because can we just stare?
Go on.
For a fact,
I'm trying to gloss over some of these things.
That we have been accused of fabricating the comments on our blog. I'm quite.
I would like to say,
by that.
Make a statement about
everything is 100% genuine on there.
Yeah, thank you, Barry, for getting in touch with us. That's what I would say. Baz, Barry Styles. Thank you, Barry.
Good man, Barry.
He seems that way. We don't know.
Wouldn't know anything about him. But I'm just saying. We are authentic all the way through.
And we wouldn't think that of anybody else.
Pride our northernness on it.
Exactly. So the downside is I haven't seen it, and I've put a deposit down on it, and that might seem a bit mental. But other than that, I did know it, so I didn't sort of jump in and say, Can I has, here's my money. So I asked him some questions, wanted bigger pictures, all that jazz. Found out a bit of the history, then I got in touch with previous owner who posted this thing up and said, "I'm looking at your vehicle and I might be in a mind to purchase it from this new owner. Any niggles you might want to tell me? What were your history with vehicle, and you don't know anything about it?" So I got a bit more history about that. Been on the old MOT history and had a look at nosy roo at that, and that sort of checked out pretty well. First one.
Good that you can do that.
Yeah,
anyone that doesn't know, I'm sure
yeah.
everyone knows, but you can just go into the MOT database, stick
that's it. It's number plate you make a car, and it'll give you the whole lot. And so that was quite interesting because, like, first MOT, it had failed on not having a fog light. Well, that's a good indicator that it's come from abroad, and it's not had
I think a fog light's quite a poor indicator.
Tish. I like that. So that was quite interesting, and it's passed its MOT. It's not done much. First owner didn't drive it in winter. Second owner don't think drove it in winter either. This guy has just driven it through summer. So, as much as you can, I've done my own work, and like I say, glass half full.
It turns out that you were being scrutinised on this.
Yeah.
They are concerned about where it's going.
Yeah, well, this guy said, he's not in a rush to sell it. He says, I want it to go to the right person. Yeah. So at that point, I pulled out my, got my arsenal together and went, right, well, I had a cappuccino, I was going in for restoration. Got my JDM Jimny, boom, have a look at my blog,
drop that
see
on
what
them.
You think about all of this. Yeah. Turned out he got a cappuccino, so I had one for 10 years. Says it's the most favourite car he's ever driven.
Good car.
A good car. So, and like you say, he were not in a rush, and he got other people interested, but he weren't that keen on selling it to them. So, in the end, got a bit of money off it as well, and he's actually delivering it. So, and he's coming down, face to face, so I can tell him to jog it on if it's nothing like he said, and I'm quite excited. Well, very excited.
I'm getting more excited.
Yeah,
I have to say.
I think you were a bit worried before I filled you in on history and details and the nuances of the story.
I'll tell you what I was worried. I was worried it were a rebound car.
Yeah.
Because the Jeep hadn't gone well in the end. And
no.
That had trailered away.
Yeah.
And
now I'm trailering another one in.
You're trailing another one in. And I was worried that it was a rebound car. And that you'd gone out and because you'd missed out on Alton Ore.
Well, this was, do you know what was very funny as well? So I got an email this morning from the guy, we're doing the final deals, working out final price, delivery, all that sort of stuff. Send that off, no problem. I'm messing about on my phone, and a little thing pops up from eBay, a little email. one new Alto Works. And I was like, oh, bloody hell, don't go there. Clicked on it. Alto Works for sale. Luckily, it were an absolute shit. And I was like, thank you.
Nothing wrong with
No. Well, that's true. I shouldn't have said that, should I? I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said.
You misspoke there.
We'll strike that from the record. No, but in a bad way. I mean, you know, there's and there's isn't there? And we have nice They're still but they're nice. This was not, you know, this were peeling lacquer. It got one of its alloys missing and they put a Steely on it. It were an Alto Works, but it weren't. It was just a Turbo IE automatic, which when you want an Alto, you don't want a Wagon R.
You want auto? Well, you want
column shift, and it's column shift. This one's on floor. It was like, I'm not having a shift on floor. No, thank you. No. So that were kind of like a bit of a wobble. It was like, oh no, but yeah, really, it's one of them things where when it started out, when I saw it, I was like, in my head, this makes sense, but no, bear with me, because at the time I was thinking I might go up and see it, you know. But in my head, you know, it's not like I wouldn't have gone. If someone said, "What's your ultimate car?" I wouldn't have said, "Well, I'd love an automatic Wagon R RR." But the more I thought about it, I thought, no, you know, it's low miles, it's clean, it's tight, you know, it's everything that a Forester would not be.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. And you go like that.
Yeah, and although there are some downsides to that, you know, it's not a cool boxer engine with a massive boot and all that sort of stuff. It's also not leggy and not possibly desperate for a cam belt, and you know, so it started out. I know it sounds insane, but it started out as a sensible head over heart thing, and then I have to say, the more I've viewed it, the more I've got into it, the more history I've been told about it, and you know, I'm getting proper excited as a sort of, this is cool. I mean, I think it's cool.
I think it's cool, and I think the worst case scenario is it will be hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be hilarious failure.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's terrible, then it's going to be hilariously terrible.
That's the thing, because I'm not searching for a car for end of days. I need a car to give me room to do things on chimney. So like I say, if it's hilariously bad, well, it's hilariously bad for 12 months, and then it just jogs on and job done, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. It is a bit insane, but you know. Yeah. You'll find out on, you know, if the next the next podcast starts with me weeping, then you'll know maybe it didn't turn out quite right.
Next podcast might be from in the wagon.
We could. Men in sheds are. I like it. Yeah, we should do that.
All right, well, let's leave people in anticipation.
Yeah.
Then.
Hurrah. Right, we're back.
Hello again, beautiful listeners.
Or should that be right, we're back? See what I did there? We're not going there.
I think we've done enough of that, so we'll save that now. But we're going to talk about the future, aren't we? And kind of want to just point out that so Crichton from Red Dwarf, Bobby Llewellyn,
Robert Llewellyn,
great bloke.
Yeah, very nice guy.
He
not that we personally met him, but he looks. He just seems like a
proper nice guy.
He seems like a nice guy.
You know, when he did that little web show in the car, driving people carpools.
Yeah.
He started that all off.
Yeah, that's it.
That trend.
Yeah, bloody James Corden and this all. Oh, look at me doing carpools. Yeah.
Car karaoke. Like, where's his royalties?
Yeah.
Anyway, justice for Bobby.
Yeah. Justice for the Llewellyn one.
When he's not recording the new series of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
He's got his own show on YouTube. He's had for a long time. Doing fully charged, and it's a cracking.
I love it.
Cracking.
You put me onto it, didn't you? And
I'm in both feet, aren't I?
You're in deep.
I'm a Patreon supporter of it, so I'm throwing money at it, and it's money well spent.
You're in pounds deep.
He covers a topic on electric cars and
kind of electric innovations in general, isn't it? Actually, it kind of branches out a little bit into electric generation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, home electric,
that's
natural
true.
power and stuff like that. Really good. But he kind of one of his latest videos really highlighted something that's a little bit it's a little bit worrisome and a little bit kind of typically disappointed in a British kind of way.
Yeah.
And it's that apparently the National Power Grid...
Yeah, good old British Power Network.
isn't ready for us all to go out and get electric cars.
Yeah, how's that surprising?
Yeah, and the government's set a target, hasn't it, to 2050 to get this kind of ambiguous target
without checking that kind of
without checking with anyone,
numbers.
Without checking with anyone, just a little around in the meeting, got a vote in the meeting. And I just think it's so bloody typical. Yeah. And it's just like internet, just like internet.
Just like internet.
It's just like that kind of thing, like where like broadband gets invented. And it's like, whoa, that's dead good, isn't it? And then BT are like, well,
it's going to take us 15 years to roll this fibre out,
That's it, because all we've got is wet string that we've connected all the houses together with. And I'm just fed up of the way that the infrastructure in this country, makes so much money for people, yet at the same time just holds us back.
Well, if I may, for a short time, get on my soapbox, I think it's quite interesting that you mentioned this and mention it in terms of utilities, because I have a theory. I don't know whether it'll be borne out, but I think if you look at like mobile technology and mobile phone technology and data technology, we're on the cusp of getting 4G.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, even out in sticks. And I wonder, like you say, BT and the network providers, in terms of like you say, actual cableage and oh no, you can only have 2 megabytes per second for the next 20 years, and then we might up it to 3. Will there be, certainly in young people, is there going to be an exodus one day where people go, you know what, I don't need your stinking BT line anymore?
Oh, well, that's happening.
Yeah.
Cord cutting is very popular.
And is that going to happen same again with, when you can get your solar panels and your Tesla Powerwall and all these other technologies, will there be, I know at the moment it's like people go, it's great, I can sell back to grid. But is there going to be a point where maybe new homes, it's like, jog on grid, don't need you?
Well, hopefully. Screw them.
Yeah, that might be.
As far as I'm concerned, get your electricity. Use your electricity to heat your water. You don't even need the gas. Not that British Gas have done anything wrong
yet.
We haven't had much gas-related innovations.
No, that's true.
For them to really do.
Got gas HD. Gas
HD.
Finer particles. Better burn.
I think the only innovation I know about gas is that it doesn't kill you now, does it?
Yeah, they put a smell in it.
No, it doesn't kill you, and it smells.
Right.
Oh, it doesn't. The smell's put in.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, they put that in.
But I don't believe. Don't try it. But
gas don't kill you anymore.
I believe.
Don't try this at all, kids.
I don't think you can gas yourself anymore. If there's one thing I want this blog to tell the world is...
Can we have the title of this podcast? Like, don't try this at all.
There'll be no
disclaimer.
Oh, crikey, what have we started? Don't try it, but that's what I heard.
Oh, right, okay.
It was a sad story about a man who was trying to gas a cancerous hamster.
And just couldn't do it. Even the hamster can survive.
He was a hamster in a sandwich box that he was trying to gas. The poor bloke. It was his kid's hamster. It was cancer.
Is this really what
it's a true story.
Maybe it's like, like when they say ants in microwave and you can't microwave an ant because the ants are so small, they dance around the microwave. Maybe it's like that. Maybe the gas is so big.
Too big for ants to inhale and process through its lungs. I don't know. Well, anyway,
we're getting.
He was a nice man, and I don't want to. He did work for Rolls-Royce in their military marine division.
Don't tell me that.
And once left his book of passwords in my house, and then phoned me up and said, "I've left my notepad at your house, and it's got all my passwords in it.
Put it somewhere safe, but don't look at it."
Well, that's me. I'm circling back to Rolls Royce. You see there.
Keep talking.
But that's what happened there. So basically, it turns out that what we might be doing at the going rate is our cars serving as our power source in our house, because you go and drive around in your car and charge it up or whatever, come home, plug it in, and then you use power from your car apparently, because everyone's boasting that they've got all these these amazing batteries in them and all that. So,
but then I've heard that car batteries are not best sort of, what's the word, oriented towards that kind of use. So there's all this sort of like, and maybe whether that's maybe that's the Tesla Powerwall division saying, no, car batteries don't work. You need one of these, lad. You need one of these. But it's a very confusing time, isn't it? But I have to say, it's quite infuriating to have someone say, well, only way us energy companies with our massive shareholder dividends can make it work is if we just borrow your car storage. Oh no, it doesn't degrade the battery. Don't worry. No. You don't have to worry about that. Oh, sorry, your car's dead inside of 3 years. It's not nothing to do with us though.
This is a national power grid which can't actually handle everyone finishing EastEnders and putting the kettle on. I mean, we have to buy our power from France. I mean, that's just rubbish.
Well, that's like a double whammy, isn't it? Really, I mean, like, what are you doing watching EastEnders, and what are you doing with your network?
We applaud the tea drinking after EastEnders. You're on the right track.
Just spread your tea drinking out.
Maybe just cut the EastEnders out. But I mean, and there's the other thing with this. This whole battery rapid discharge, rapid recharge, stuff like that. Is this news about the Galaxy Note 7 basically just randomly exploding into flames. I've heard about
a bit of a bugger, that was, wasn't it?
I've heard about electric cars, involved in accidents, getting it, Priuses, and they go up. I mean, all that energy. And you can always say, well, you're driving around with a big tank of petrol in your car. It's not much better, is it? But a tank of petrol often doesn't spontaneously combust. Because
it's not petrol that burns, it's the vapour that burns.
Well, either way, you've got to set fire to that. It's not like it won't just do it.
That's true. It doesn't do it without an external source.
But if you leave, usually, like if you're someone's filling up a tub of a
carton of petrol,
or a barrel of petrol, whatever. Like, no one's going to say, like, you fill that up a bit fast, it might explode. Like that,
slow it down a bit.
Back off. And you don't see that. So, like, part of me is really quite worrying that once electric cars become mainstream, that's going to become like quite common that the cheaper NAFA ones are just going to spontaneously start
this is true,
catching fire. I tell you what, my biggest fear in life is
being trapped in a
burning car.
I completely understand.
I've seen too many videos of that, and it's not nice.
No, it's not pretty. No,
not pretty.
I think the problem you've got isn't it really, is that the whole thing is so politicised in every way. Like you say, on one hand, you cannot, people going off their heads about, batteries that might immediately combust in your car. But like you say, we're not in a utopia with petrol cars. Ultimately, like you say, you need some sort of external source of ignition for that one. But you are carrying around a large petrol bomb in the back of your car. But then you've also, it's almost, there are people who are very much not interested in this coming sort of electric car revolution. And maybe they've got a bit of an axe to grind, and it's like, I won't buy one of them electric cars, they'll just spontaneous. When really, like I say, the instances of that happening are so rare that, it's almost insignificant. It's a tricky maze to navigate, isn't it, really? To find the truth and to know, where to stand, whether to be genuinely worried about it, whether we are close to having a Galaxy Note 7 vehicle kind of confluence or whatever you call it, or whether they're a lot safer than I don't know.
I know there's one issue with electric cars, and I love electric cars, and I want us all to get them and everything like that. But I'll tell you this: I was talking to the fire service, and just before they're doing a demonstration of cutting someone out of a car, and they were saying, like with modern cars, they have to terminate so much of the electronics. There's all these horrible stories of what happens if airbags go off and people are leaning in to help somebody else. God knows what else. But with electric cars, they have to chock them because they're known to just try and drive off.
Oh, right.
Yeah, after an accident. That's you have your short circuit or whatever on that, and it's like, wrap off.
Motors are off.
I'll be off then. I'm an ambulance now. And that's a bit of a concern. So and people need to know that. Maybe people need to know that if you do see someone in an accident in an electric car,
stand clear
of the front and back of it if you're helping, because it might decide
it might just go for you.
Drive off.
Well, I mean, I know, it's very different, but, in Formula One, with their hybrid technology and their batteries, all the pit crews have now got big rubber gloves on and that kind of thing, and they have lighting systems on the cars to say whether, in a case of a breakdown or an accident, whether car is charged or not, basically, you know. I mean, people touching vehicles and getting popped across the room, you know.
Crikey.
It's a scary thing, really, isn't it? Like I say,
I'm proper scared of electric, I have to admit. I don't like doing anything of electric.
It's the move from that kind of something that's very physical and that you can see. You know, it's like radiation. Yeah. I mean, radiation is truly terrifying because you could be standing getting guffed with radiation. You have absolutely no clue.
Just have a metallic taste.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's proper terrifying. So that's interesting, though. No, and like I say, it's very, very frustrating. Yeah, with our network that just can't manage that one.
Well, and in sort of future car news. Yeah. So there's been BMW have
this one's a bit of it.
Admitted. I think it's BMW or Mercedes. Can't remember who it is. And they've basically said that their autonomy will be focused on driver safety over pedestrian safety.
Yeah, that's a big thing to admit, that, isn't it? Really,
it's a big thing, and. You kind of at first you think, well, isn't that bloody typical German cars? Yeah. You know, I'm sure that their
arrogant German cars,
their consumer base were grinning ear to ear when they heard that. Couldn't wait to mow some people down and claim complete innocence.
I'm justified in doing that.
My car's too arrogant, officer. What can I do about it? But just to put this in perspective, so we do have autonomous vehicles in the world. Yeah. Planes are autonomous. Yeah. Have been for quite some time.
Yeah, that's true.
Semi-autonomous, you know, you've always got someone ready to take over.
Yeah.
If Boeing or one of the other ones...
Airbus,
there we go.
There is another one.
If they came out and said, we prioritise the safety of our passengers over everybody on the ground...
Yeah.
That wouldn't wash. It
wouldn't go down very well,
people
would it really?
Say, hang on a second.
Yeah.
You're telling me that your plane would sooner
plough into a shopping centre if it could make sure the passengers came out all right.
Trying to belly flop into a kind of smooth landing somehow.
Belly flop into the V Festival for soft ground.
And I'll tell you this much. The occupants of the cars are the one in a cage, the one with airbags.
That was my first thought when you said it. Like, but hang on a minute, they're at a distinct advantage already. Yeah, I think maybe you should redress the balance a bit towards the pedestrians rather than double down. Like, I know I've used that word quite a bit, but doubling down on keep you safe, lads. And he's like, well, you're in a metal box, you are pretty safe.
You should be alright.
Yeah,
as long as you're not doing anything too stupid.
Yeah.
So,
it's an interesting stance to take, really. Yeah.
Nothing to be proud of.
No, I don't think so, no. But like you say, maybe it went with their demographic, their customer base, it went down rather well.
I've always had this kind of theory in my head, we all know, right? We've all seen BMW drivers and now Audi drivers and Mercedes drivers as well, but you kind of when you're young and you go out there, you kind of think, I'm not going to believe all this about
all the stereotypes.
Give them a chance. And then
10 years later,
you're just like, what? And what I've always wondered is, do people who drive like absolute sociopaths migrate naturally to BMWs, or do they acquire a BMW and then that does something to them, either
or they believe that now
from the car, or maybe we all treat people like that in such a way that they just become,
I mean, I know one of our friends who's sadly no longer with us, although I mean that in a nice way. He's just thousands of miles away now. He had a BMW and he sort of made an off-the-cuff comment. It's sort of like, well, maybe I should drive like a bit of a bellend because it's kind of what's expected of me. Like, if I'm the most courteous BMW driver in the world, no one will let me out of junctions and no one will do this and that because I'm a BMW. So I might as well live up to the stereotypes. That's it.
But this news that a major German manufacturer saying, this kind of makes me think, well, maybe it's just coming straight from manufacturers.
That's it.
Maybe you just get in the vehicle is just completely made to just turn you into an absolute twat.
Mate, I've never been in a BMW dealership, but maybe you walk in and the first thing happens is the guy comes up to you and punches you and says, "You're not worth it here."
Well,
show me you're worth it.
We've been in a Mercedes dealership,
that's
haven't we?
true.
We're getting you smart.
That's true.
Looked at. And they aren't nice places going. They've got that whole thing when you go in.
I didn't feel worthy, really. Even before it even
dripping with arrogance.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, old chips.
I don't think you're here to see the latest C-Class, are you?
No. Not with them shoes, not, are you? Crikey, wear your sunglasses. Yeah, so
that's an interesting one.
Maybe that's the thing. And
I agree with your conclusion, to be quite honest.
So maybe in the future we're just going to be not driving. Everything's going to be the bloody same.
Yeah.
And you're going to be driving around and you're going to be like, oh, well, he's going to be nice.
Yeah.
And she's going to be lovely and everything. Like, oh, what do we got here? We've got an autonomous BMW
driver
coming down the outside lane and cutting in at the last minute because that's legally that's legal. That's legally legal. How you should do it because that's legal. That's legal. Because that's the reason we have to do things.
It's not morally or socially correct. But
nothing
legally,
like that.
We're all right,
I'm doing it because legally that's in the highway code or something like that.
Do you think like autonomous Audi road trains will sit just that little bit closer to each other than everybody else?
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, sit that bit closer to everybody else.
Everybody else, that's true, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, we're talking about like autonomous. I saw something this week about Japanese cars, strangely enough.
Here we go.
And but it was quite interesting because, you know, you look at like, you know, and this is not to disparage the technologies like that, you know, that Tesla are using. I mean, they're doing some amazing stuff now, aren't they, with LiDAR and radar and camera stuff and then sharing it between cars. And it's incredible stuff.
A lot of their technology is open. It's patents. It's not patented.
And between their Teslas, you know, they're sort of, you know, they're crowdsourcing the network completely. But it was interesting to see the Japanese kind of thing, which I think it's very Japanese philosophy, really, which is to try and simplify it so that it's open to everybody. So there's a new Nissan, I think it's a big people carry in Japan, and it does autonomous driving. It'll do like, you know, semi-autonomous, you know, got to keep your hands on wheel, but it'll keep you in lane and all that sort of stuff. And it does it with one camera, that's it.
Amazing.
Which must be a software, a bit of software genius, really. But that's interesting when you think, you know, I'm sure component parts and component cost for LiDAR, radar, 5 cameras, front and back, all this sort of stuff, you know, is obviously much greater than maybe single camera. And when you think, you know, each of those hardware, you know, if your LiDAR gets upgraded, you've got to take that out and put it in, you know. If you can upgrade software on your Nissan, it's all like, you know, in a similar way to how Tesla are doing it with over-the-air updates and that
assuming kind of that Nissan are actually using software and they aren't actually just putting small children.
That's true in back. Quite down back there.
And they're just driving it
when you don't want to,
Bloody amazing this is. Bloody amazing. What's that knocking in the back?
But what's also interesting in it, they've decided, and again, it's all linked because it's very similar to Tesla. So they're actually setting up like laser scanning of major roads in Japan.
No.
So that rather than each car have to have this battery of sensors, you'll have cars, and what they're thinking is, and this is a clever one, if they can shrink it down, they'll put it on police patrol cars and naturally update it with having police patrol cars driving around, all that sort of stuff. And then what happens is, you know, LiDAR and radar are very clever, but they can only see so far ahead. Whereas they're saying with this, you've got simplistic with cameras, but you've also got a 3D map at all city. So a car knows what's like 2-3 blocks ahead that even, you know, magic cameras can't see because it's all mapped out and it's been, you know, so it's a very clever, I was just fascinated by that. I don't think I'm not going to say, you know, I like a Japanese car. I'm not going to say Japanese.
Do you?
I do, strangely enough.
Crikey, you kept that to yourself.
I know, you know, it's like under a bushel and all that. But you know, I just think it's a very interesting, different approach to do that sort of, you know, try and be as simple as possible so that you can throw it in your Toyota Aygo, you can throw it in your Lexus LS600, you know, and it'll work, you know, regardless at very low cost. I think that's quite interesting.
I think that is dead good.
Yeah.
And I love to see the different approaches. And you know, I just think like, maybe to conclude what we've spoken about today, I would embrace what the Americans are doing with Tesla, and I embrace what the Germans are doing with theirs. You know, it's a little bit selfish, but whatever. And I embrace what the Japanese are doing. Yeah. But I don't think I'd want to be driven by a French computer.
No, that's true. At all. I think you've made a good final point there.
Because nobody looks cool being the passenger.
Nobody looks cool on fire.
No one looks cool on fire, especially when they didn't cause the fire in the first place.
Exactly.